Hi, everybody. Welcome to Drinks with Johnny. I am Johnny Christ. This is Drinks with Johnny. Coming live from my studio today.
You can't even point in the right direction. There's no sign for you to point to. You can at least point it to your hat.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Drinks. See, that's why they pay you the big bucks, bud.
Hope they're paying me more than they're paying me.
Right. It's all Brandon. All the money goes to Brandon.
So we got this this guest, Daniel Warren Johnson. I keep getting it confused because sometimes he's DWJ as well.
Hello, DWJ.
And so it's Daniel Warren Johnson. I don't know a lot about him. You did bring me some of his comics and showed me a little bit, and I watched some of his YouTube stuff. And unfortunately, Twitter and Instagram is down right now, so I wasn't able to follow up on that. Anyways, that's a long way of saying that's why Sam is here. Our resident comic book geek is going to help me out today.
Yeah, you call me a lot of things, but that one I will take gladly without this guy I've been a fan of for a while, and seriously, between comics, metal, and wrestling, I'm like, this guy would be the perfect guest to just kind of mix things up, and I think we all have something we could talk about, and it's just a way to interject myself into the show just that much more. So here I am.
You finally got some FaceTime on the show.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. Well, almost.
Almost 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's I'm really glad that you're here. I am excited though, because the little bit that you did tell me about and the little bit of research that I have done, I am excited to talk to him. He seems like a really genuine dude. How old is his son's? Pretty young, right? Or is it his daughter?
I believe it's his daughter. I want to say she's got to be right around Frankie's age. That'd be a good question to ask, especially juggling that if you kind of have to be in your zone to write. And kids, they don't really respect your privacy these days. And
hell no.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see.
It's actually really tripping me out to look at you in my studio right now. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm looking at the background and everything. I'm like, why is Sam in my studio right now?
Well, this is what I was gonna do. I think we kind of mentioned on before. I was gonna sneak in when we had the you, me, and Brandon one, and I was gonna lay in your bed though and just be real close, and then slowly just kind of reveal until you realized it, and drink out of all your cups and go through your underwear drawer and have fun.
You might not like what you find in the underwear drawer.
I'd be scared to find in yours. Actually, stuff in this office is probably a little more scary than.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
So before he hops on here, we do have him coming on, right?
Yeah.
We're not just doing this for no reason.
Yep.
All right. So tell me your backstory. What do you know about Daniel?
So, fellow podcaster, a guy, Chris, who I've gotten to know, has a podcast called the Sunspot Comics podcast. And we had kind of gotten friendly, and he had thoroughly recommended I check out this Murder Falcon comic. And it was right around the time I started getting back into comic books. I was rebuying all the ones I wanted when I was a kid that, as an adult, you can kind of slowly afford. And but I hadn't really started reading any. And so I was looking for recommendations, and I listened to actually Daniel being interviewed by him on his podcast. And I was like, maybe this guy seems like a good, chill dude. And the concept of Murder Falcon, for those who don't know, is absolutely absurd telling you. But if you check it out, it opens up your eyes. It's basically about a kid who probably in his 20s or so. There we go, right there.
Murder Falcon right here. I'm getting a little bit of a glare. Let me see if I can get a better.
Yeah, and so he
there we go.
Basically pulls out a guitar and shreds. And as he's shredding, this Murder Falcon buffed superhero comes out and fights evil. And it's a slow journey about him finding other bandmates to build, playing their instruments, which unleashes other creatures to fight. It's completely absurd, but in the best,
Well, you were telling me about it the other day, and what I really liked about the art and everything is he started with the Murder Falcon, and it's like the guy playing guitar, right? And then he brings in a bass player, and then he brings in a drummer, and he eventually creates an entire band around this, correct?
Correct. And there's a lot more to it too. So that's just surface level. I mean, there's a whole cancer story in there. Stuff that's like, I'm not crying, you're crying, like reading it when you really get invested in it. And what really touched my heart more than anything was this was the first comic that I read with my daughter. So that comic came out a few years ago. She was younger. It was the first like monthly, because comic books, I don't know if you know, John, they usually come out monthly or weekly, depending on.
Oh, of course I knew that.
Yeah. So that was one of the first ones I've had, and we've had a few since then. And it's kind of just kept this ongoing thing that's really bonded me and my daughter of, excitement. There is some bad language in it, so I'd have to change like fuck to fart and things like that. And she always thought that was even funnier because she could read at that point. And
I love when you have to change the words for stuff. Not even just like reading to your kids. Like I still to this day, me and Jimmy used to watch The Big Lebowski, and we watched it on like regular TV one day. And instead of you see what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass, it was you see what happens, Larry. You see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps. And we started busting up laughing. I think it was funnier than even saying fuck a stranger in the ass.
There's a whole art to that. I listened to a podcast, I think it was Every Little Things or it was something. And they basically went in to the weeds about that. And you have no idea what an art that is to find things that phonetically fit.
I want to be in that studio.
Right.
I want to be in that editing studio, like Aftermath, and like try and figure out how to put that together. And like, oh, those guys just got to be having fun with it at that point, right? Or ladies as well, whatever. I say guys, but I just mean everybody. But like, yeah, it's hilarious because I would want to be in there and I would try my best to come up with the most ridiculous shit instead of an actual curse word.
Well, yeah. And then because it's phonetic more than anything when your mouth is going, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some good ones. I just always love watching TV. I mean, they don't really get that as much anymore, right? Because nowadays kids just watch. I mean, there's what's edited anymore? Nothing. It's all just straight content.
That's true because everything's streaming now. But I will say I have Frankie watching the Jurassic Park series through the TV version because it takes out a little bit of stuff, and he's only 4, and I don't want to deal with. He loves dinosaurs, but I don't want to deal with the nightmares and everything, the repercussions of that, because some of that stuff can be pretty gory. Of course, when I was his age, I had already watched Freddy. So
Predator was mine. That was the first rated R one I remember was Predator.
How old were you when you watched that?
I mean, I don't know if I was 4. I was probably around 6 or so. But that movie just stuck out with me for the rest of my life. It's like one of those like traumatic things that actually ingrains in you. But like now I'm drawn to Predator like crazy just because that's what I knew.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's why you're drawn to it, right?
It's awesome. I love it.
Wait, so tell me a little bit more about Murder Falcon before we have Daniel on. We have Murder Falcon, and then the other thing that he's really known for is this Better Ray Bill.
That's his current one. He just did a run of that. It just concluded. This guy's worked for Marvel. He's worked for DC. He's kind of just like the cool thing about him too is he's not only an artist but he's also a writer, which I don't know how common or not common it is, but it seems like it's a little less common. But today with everything just doing it yourself, it seems like it just fits, and I think that's kind of why he's gone a different path. The other funny thing about I heard on the Better Ray Bill run he did was it's ended, and this isn't a spoiler alert because it didn't get done, but apparently we can ask him about it. He was planning on ending it with Bill being an intergalactic ping pong champion. So because you got to think about
intergalactic ping pong. So like Forrest Gump gets sent up to outer space and fucking just demolishes people.
Exactly. So and that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a guy who's kind of outside of the norm. He can go deep, emotional, but also have some fun, and laugh at it and just make it a fun. I mean, how many times have we heard the same story over and over again? So. Right.
So no, I mean, he definitely puts a different spin on everything from what you've shown me. You also taught me a little bit that he's the Better Ray Bill stuff is on Marvel, obviously, and then you had a little bit of insight on some of this Murder Falcon stuff that was on Image, and what is this? What's the subsidiary that I'm looking at right here?
So for all the people who are just listening that are just kind of like, I don't know much about comics, there's Marvel and DC. Everybody knows them because of the movies. There is also another big player in it called Image. And then back in the 90s, there was a group of comic artists that are pretty well known, and they were working for Marvel and not getting paid. And they said, screw this, we're rock stars here. And that's back in the days when they're selling millions of copies of comic books. Like, it was the heyday of comics. They broke off, created their own, we'll call it like a label, its own publishing company, Image. And then they each had subsidiaries, kind of like you have Universal owns everything, and you got Island Def Jam and Interscope. And so they had one home. And Skybound is actually Robert Kirkman, who created The Walking Dead. So
that's right. You were telling me about that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize all that. That's pretty rad. I mean, look at that franchise now. When they went off and did that in the 90s, is that what they had envisioned for, like, an A&E TV show with 3 different offshoots?
Well, back then, Robert Kirkman, the creator, was on Image. He was basically hired as, just like Daniel was, coming through, and then it just blew up to what it is. Robert Kirkman kind of, from my understanding, kind of got the band back together, made it, stronger. And now he's one of the, I don't know, owners or guys who runs it. So good for him. One cool thing, which was weird, that happened today, side story. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Murder Falcon, I heard a story about a real.
Before you tell that story, Sam, we have Daniel coming in right now.
All right.
How the fuck are you today, man?
Dude, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on the show. Sorry I was late.
No, it worked out great.
Yeah.
It worked out great because we were trying to put some stuff together. I know you understand technical difficulties, and I've seen the YouTube channel that you have, and it happens. Everyone knows it happens.
Oh yeah. Every day, all day.
So where are you coming to us from?
Chicago, Illinois, north side, in a neighborhood called Albany Park.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great place. We just moved into a house in May, so this is my house now. It's crazy.
Oh, congratulations! Is this your first purchase of a home?
First purchase of a home. Yeah.
Wow.
It is wild, but it's very cool.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool. I mean, we were just talking a little bit about what paid for that house, stuff like Murder Falcon right here. Better Ray Bill.
Yep.
We were talking about all the stuff that's paying for your house over there, but let's get back to Chicago real quick, because I know you're wearing the AEW hat.
Yeah.
And AEW is doing some really cool shit. And in Chicago, they did the biggest shit that they've ever done when they had CM Punk, Daniel Bryanson come on, Michael Cole, Adam Cole. Why am I saying things wrong? I don't know. It's early in the morning. Adam Cole, baby. I heard you were out there though. Did you get to see any of these events while they were in Chicago?
Oh yeah. I saw everything almost. The only show I did not go to was the Rampage. That was the Friday night before All Out. But yeah, I was there when CM Punk debuted. I was in like the nosebleeds, and it was loud and awesome. And I choked up a little bit. There were grown men around me weeping. It was quite the experience.
Grown men weeping in the nosebleeds as CM Punk is introduced into AEW. Is that the time, or are you talking about when Daniel Bryanson was there?
This is when CM Punk came.
Bryan Danielson.
This is when CM Punk arrived. And then when Bryan Danielson showed up, it was more of just a party. People were just so excited. And, it's funny. I was in the building, and like when Adam Cole came out, everybody was super happy that Adam Cole was there. But then people were like, okay, that was the thing, man. They're saving Daniel Bryan maybe for New York at the Arthur Ashe show. And nope, they play his music, and then people lost their minds. Like, they lost their minds.
Oh, absolutely. Were you one of those people? I mean, you said everyone was crying around you, but were you crying too?
I was getting emotional when CM Punk came out. That's when CM Punk came out. That's when grown men were crying. When Bryan Danielson showed up, it was more of a just party atmosphere. I was losing my mind, but honestly, I lost my mind when when Suzuki came out after the Moxley match. Like, I was air punching like around me. I was so jazzed.
Let me ask you a question though. Like, so you're obviously into wrestling, and we'll get into the music and the comic books here in a second. But I want to focus on the wrestling because that's what we're talking about right now. Like, what was your first love? What is your journey with wrestling?
Yeah, so I was really sheltered as a kid. So I was growing up in the 90s during like the golden age of it's the Attitude Era. It's like the late 90s, right?
Late 90s was the Attitude Era
Yeah.
when after the Monday Night Wars and WWE, WWF at the time started to pull away is when they started going really hard in the paint with the Attitude Era.
Okay, so remember that T-shirt, the John 3:16 T-shirt?
Absolutely.
I thought that was okay. I'm outing myself here, but like, my parents and were very big into like the Christian thing, and so I would go to Awana, which is like approved workmen are not ashamed. It's basically like Boy Scouts, but you like learn Bible verses and like run around. You do activities, outdoor stuff, indoor stuff, and you like memorize Bible verses. And John 3:16 is like a big time Bible verse in like the Christian community, especially back in the 90s. So I'd see these kids walking around with John 3:16 shirts. I'm like, oh, you go to Awana? You go to Awana, bro? And they're like, oh, what the hell are you talking about, man? I'm like, no, I don't do Awana. I'm not.
Yeah, they just look back at you and said, Stone Cold just whooped your ass.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, it's Stone Cold. It's Steve Austin, man. I was like, wow, okay, that's like, is that like in the Bible somewhere? And no.
Stunning Steve Austin before that. Yeah.
So every time I see that T-shirt, so I mean, sometimes it's people still wear it, but I just always think that like Awana. Approved workmen are not ashamed.
That is
for God so loved the world. Anyway, so
you said the church thing. I forget how you referenced it there. Does that mean that you are no longer following the church, or where's your faith lie?
It's a good question. It's complicated. I definitely still identify as a Christian, but that like term has so much baggage now, and just being aligned with like any sort of church thing has this air of like religiosity to it. I love it.
I'm sorry to laugh, but you just keep calling it a church thing, and I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, well, I've been in it since I was a kid, and I'm still part of a church now. And oh, hey,
is that your daughter?
That's my daughter. It's
How old is she now? I was going to ask about her because I saw her on your YouTube channel. How old is she now?
Fiona, how old are you? 3.5.
3.5. That's a fun time. I have a 4.5-year-old son.
Oh, awesome.
Next time we go to an AEW event together, we should bring the kids and let them have fun.
How are you 24 too?
Yes. Okay, cool. I'll be out in a little bit. Okay. Close the door behind you. Hold on one sec. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I love this. I absolutely love this, by the way, Sam. You're still on.
These are my favorite.
Yeah.
It just shows that this is real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. We're looking at people's lives. Just like.
Go ahead.
I think Fiona came in the perfect time to like not let it get too serious, because we were starting to talk about religion, and it was like right at the perfect time. Fiona's like, let's not talk about this, Daddy.
Right? Yeah.
Family.
Well, I feel like
I love it, dude.
Religion, like metal, just seems to be the alternative escape for kids, right? So is that kind of how you got into metal too?
No, because like I was listening to all sorts of stuff when I was growing up, and it was all Christian stuff. I wasn't allowed to listen to anything else. You guys remember?
Oh, so you guys were like hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, my parents really chilled out as they got older, but like starting out, like we're definitely like a focus on the family, which is terrible, but it's so like, but like, you remember Jesus Freak by DC Talk?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a classic in my house. That was like that was the banger of the Johnson family growing up. I remember sneaking as I got older. I would like, we had a bunch of worship like CDs and stuff like Michael W. Smith and all this stuff, and I would have my friends burn me like Korn and Slipknot CDs, but then I would label them like, worship,
Oh, wow. You had to hide it from your parents. I love it.
Yeah. I remember like I got a Nickelback CD once, and my dad found out, and it was not a good situation. I remember this
Nickelback? Nickelback was the one? Like out of everything else?
Well, did it have that song where they talk about screwing on it and stuff like that?
Yeah, where it's like, I like your pants around your feet.
Yeah.
Which in retrospect, my dad was like, you can either throw this away and I'll give you your money back, or you can keep it and be ashamed.
That was his. Wait. He said you could keep it and be ashamed.
He was like, you can keep it, and like, this is like, you could like keep it and like know that you're living in this like sin of listening to Nickelback.
What is that fucking headache that he gave you? Wait a minute. Before I get too far on that, you've walked away from the church a little bit. Yeah, you're still a believer. Everything that's fine. Do you have a good relationship with your parents now?
Oh, yeah.
After looking back on all that.
Oh yeah, they've really chilled out. Like there's still Christians and stuff, but my dad especially, you know, like he would have trouble with like bands like POD, which I was like, Dad, these guys are like Christians. Yeah. And my dad would be like, he couldn't get his head around like them screaming and also having like some sort of positive message.
He could get his head wrapped around a positive message.
But if they were screaming, he really had trouble with it. So it was something that we butted heads on a lot.
I don't mean to circle back, but what did you do with the Nickelback? Did you keep it in shame or did you get your money back?
I couldn't live with it, bro. I gave it back, and it's like one of the best things my dad ever did for me. Like I got that Nickelback CD out of my house.
Someone should have definitely taken your ICP CDs out of your house, Sam. That's
yeah, funny. When I was a
that
kid,
should happen.
I remember my parents found like my Dead Kennedys album, and they started just looking at the artwork and like, what is this shit? And blah blah blah. And they got all that, and so they are like, you got to take all the bad ones and get rid of them. And it's just like, oh, okay. But they're not listening to all these. So I grabbed a few that I didn't really care about. I'm like, oh, here's all the bad ones. And I'm like, I got to double check to make sure I got rid of all the bad ones. So, yeah.
I remember listening a lot to like a lot of pop punk as well. It wasn't like just new metal, but it's like Blink-182 was definitely a staple too. But there's still some bands that I still really appreciate from that era, that like the Tooth and Nail kind of vibe. Do you guys know MXPX?
Yeah.
Oh, I love MXPX. Ladies, what's lady? No, why can't I remember it? Sam, help me out.
I never heard of MXPX.
Chick Magnet.
Chick Magnet. Thank you.
Yeah. So like they started out obviously very much in the Christian sphere, but then they really kind of grew into their own, and I still love listening to their music.
You know what? I'm just thinking about, because I grew up in a Christian household as well. That now they didn't shame me for listening to music. My dad actually showed me AC/DC, Metallica,
awesome.
You know, all this stuff. But one of my buddies, and you bring up MXPX in the pop punk world. I'm curious if it made it all the way out to Chicago. You know the band Value Pack?
No, I never listened to them.
Oh, okay. So they're another punk rock. Pop punk band that was fully Christian. They had like 2 really good albums. I'm going to send you some of that stuff so you could like you won't appreciate it now that we're old adults and stuff, but when you're a teenager you got to try and get yourself back into that world.
You know, I've been like, I still really like pop punk a lot. Like I don't talk about it a lot because nobody likes it as much as me now, but
oh no, whoa, you're in good company. Okay, I love pop punk.
So have you guys listened to the New Found Glory record? I've been keeping up with them very casually, like throughout the years, and because they were one of my favorites growing up. And yeah, this new record is great. I've been spinning it a ton. And yeah, and I don't know, that's kind of what I'm vibing on right now, but I love the old stuff. I was listening to Blink-182 a bunch a few weeks ago, and have you guys heard of the Hotel Year? It's a little more emo-y.
I'm not familiar with that.
They're a little more underground. They're definitely from that world, influenced by that world, and it's really great.
Do you find new artists very often? I know I've seen on your Instagram you've mentioned a few bands. I don't know how new or old they are, but I just find myself I usually gravitate falling back to the old classics. But how well do you do finding new stuff versus falling back to the oldies?
I'm lucky because I have a lot of friends that are still really plugged into the new stuff. So every once in a while they'll give me recommendations, and it'll really blow my hair back. But I guess a lot of times when I'm working, like in drawing comics or even writing scripts, I will also gravitate towards the old stuff because I already know all the hooks and I don't have to pay attention to it as much. Whereas if I'm listening to a new record, like it will just become background noise if I'm working really hard on drawing. So I love hip hop, but like I lose so much of it because it's just in the background and I'm just kind of vibing on it. And I like paying attention to my music, so it's a double-edged sword. Yeah. Well,
I that brings me up to that. Like, so when you're drawing, when you're creating your art, you say you're listening to music and you're going back to the classics basically, so you just kind of have it in the background. Do you ever find that those are your muse? Are they seeping into the pen as you're putting it to paper, or and if so, what are those muses?
Man, it depends on the project. I'd say with, like you mentioned, Murder Falcon, there was a lot of bands that really influenced the creation of Murder Falcon. Yeah, there you go. And without that music, like Murder Falcon straight up would not exist. And I was listening to a lot of it, like while I was writing it and drawing it. But as far as like things like Extremity or Wonder Woman, like music was not as influential. Like it was just kind of there to keep me company rather than like be a part of the creative process as far as like how the book actually turned out. But like I'm thinking for like Murder Falcon, like Racer X, Vinnie Moore, like gosh, like a lot of like really kind of like 80s power metal stuff, but like with a little bit more technical virtuosity in it. Like Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yngwie.
Yeah. Classic.
I love Yngwie.
And like the phrasing and a lot of the solo work of oh my gosh. Oh, why am I blanking on this? The guitarist for Megadeth.
Marty Freeman.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Marty.
Don't worry, he's not listening to the show.
Yeah, I gave him. I went to go see him live, and I gave him like a stack of Murder Falcons, like to his tour manager. And I was like,
really?
Look, hey, this just without Marty, this wouldn't be here. So I just wanted to give this to you. Give it to Marty.
Did you ever get a response?
No, never got a response.
What a dick.
Whoa, no, it's fine.
I'm just kidding.
The tour manager was like, he really likes comics, so he should really enjoy these. So I guess maybe he.
I do love the idea though. Like we were talking, I realized it was before you came on. I was talking to Sam here, who introduced me to all of your art and Murder Falcon. I loved the idea of, I don't know, it's kind of like the Dragon Zord thing, bringing the superhero out, but it's a guitar shredder.
Yeah.
And then you bring out like the bass player, the drummer, you get a whole fucking band going. Have you ever like, I know you play guitar. Have you ever been in bands? I mean, is that something you still would pursue, or is that something you have a few buddies you play with or anything like that?
So my old painting professor has a band called Baby Mountain. They're like he's like a really tiny little band that plays locally in Chicago. I played electric guitar for them for a little bit. And then I would like, I used to play like worship a lot, like worship music in the background. And the thing about worship music is like, it is like this, how do I not be super negative here? It's like,
oh, you can be as negative as you want. My name's Johnny Christ.
okay, so like, all right, I'm gonna get on my soapbox, but it'll only be for a second. Like,
okay, perfect. I love it. Let's go.
As I said, I do identify as a Christian, but it's complicated. It's not just like this wave of cool water on a hot day. It's like, what is that Sufjan song? There's no shade in the shadow of the cross. It's like
I'm not even familiar with what you just said. So
he's going like this album. This album. Sufjan has this album where his mom dies, and there's a song the song is called "No Shade in the Shadow of the Cross," and it's like you'd think that there would be. That's where your mind goes, or that's where the imagery would take you, and it's totally not that. And that's kind of how I feel about Christianity a little bit. Like it's not necessarily there to make me feel better. And in the same way, there's like a lot of worship music is like putting a blanket over like somebody trying to go to sleep. It just makes me crazy. Like it's not like that's not art to me. I want to like, I want to be challenged. And so when I approach music that way, I'm always kind of bucking what it should be. And so I'm throwing like diminished seventh chords in like the worship songs, and the worship leader's like, what is that? And
I love so you just painted like such a beautiful picture. I don't know if you realize it, but you painted such a beautiful picture right there of like, to me, the closed-mindedness. Like you can't throw in a diminished seven. It's still part of the scale. Like it's still part of it, but you can't. And you've said it earlier on when you were talking about music too. Like your parents are like, you have the shame of listening to music, and like that kind of closed-mindedness is just like, I grew up in a Christian household too, and that kind of closed-mindedness makes me crazy because I'm like, everyone can do whatever they want. It's totally cool. Believe what you want. I have my beliefs, and it doesn't matter. Like I don't believe them so hardly that I can't listen to anyone else.
Yeah.
That's the problem with religion that I have. Any religion, it's like it kind of closes you off to accepting somebody else's way of growing up.
Totally. So I guess all that to say, I still do enjoy like playing music with my church because it's a gig. I remember feeling really bad about it for a while, and I was trying to hide it. And I was talking with a buddy at like a music shop, and I was like, I play for my church sometimes. And he's like, it's a gig. And I was like, you know what? You're right, man. Like, I love playing music. I love playing music. And, I have a full-time job and I have a family and all these other commitments. And I don't really have time to like devote to, writing or like performing my own music really. Cause I'm already making my own art all the time anyway. So,
right.
It's just a safe place where you can go and play music, have some fun and, make the worship leader mad and,
Yeah, by throwing in your diminished sevens, he gets really upset.
Yeah, I really like doing like reharmonizations of like popular Christian tunes, like hymns and stuff, where it's like I'm really pushing the envelope. Where it's like it's the same melody line, but I'm throwing chords that don't necessarily go over it correctly. So turning it more into like a fusion thing, or a jazz thing, or like kind of like something that's more minor based, which actually like puts like a really creepy spin on it. And I think there's a place for that in worship, but not everybody agrees with me.
I think all worship music is very creepy. So if you can make it even more so, then I think that's totally cool.
Right on.
Beyond that,
when did you pick up the guitar? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say beyond that, Johnny, and I'll let you speak more about this, Dan. But you did a companion. You did the band, what the tracks would sound like for each Murder Falcon, right? On Bandcamp. So you put out your own music of what the band would actually sound like.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I didn't know that. You did. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I got to listen to this.
It's not good. It's like, it's very derivative. When I started, I did not know how to mix at all. So the levels are all over the place and it's a nightmare, but I had a lot of fun doing it. And, something I still play around with every once in a while. I do like make music on my own, by myself, writing my little MIDI drum tracks and stuff. But it does not usually see the light of day. But Murder Falcon, like the music to accompany each issue, was a way for me to just kind of creatively let go and have some fun with it. So
I love that. I actually do really want to hear it. And even if it doesn't see the light of day, next time I'm in Chicago, if you could show me some of that shit, we could jam together. It would be fucking awesome.
Oh, do you play?
Yeah, I play a little bit.
Okay. I see a bunch of basses down below here.
Yeah, those are Sam's actually in my studio around the corner. I'm in my bar where I hang out.
That's awesome. It seems like you got a really cool setup.
It's not bad. It's a fun place to be over the last year and a half. Like I could get away from everything a little bit here. So
that's awesome.
It's been nice. I want to ask you a few more questions though, like really about like this world of comics that I'm not really versed in.
Sure.
I wanted to know, like, when you have like a Marvel, do you get like contracts from them? Is it kind of like a record deal, and then they kind of give you how much input do they give you on these things? 'Cause I know that you put in like a character from you snuck in. I don't know if you snuck in, but you snuck in a little bit of a character from Murder Falcon into which one is it? Beta Ray Bill.
Yep.
And I think that's really cool. And was that under the radar? I mean, did they tell you can do that? Did you have to get clearance? Like, what is the concept of you working with Marvel?
Yeah. So, Beta Ray Bill, like, I don't know, working for Marvel or working for DC, it's, I'm just a freelancer, so they're just contracting out talent. I do sign a contract, but it's just as long as the project goes. And with Marvel and like sneaking in stuff like Murder Falcon, they kind of depends what it is. Like there were a few things that Marvel had a big no. So I remember I had Beta Ray Bill wearing like a Power Trip t-shirt, and Marvel Legal was like, whoa, the band might want money for us showing them. I don't know. I just threw it in there because it's like super fun and I love Power Trip. So don't
draw any death bats in there.
Right.
I'll have to come here for the money there.
I know that's the kind of the weird. It's the weird thing. It's like very kind of a corporate vibe.
Right.
But like in issue 2, like you said, I throw in so many Easter eggs. You know, wrestlers, bands, Murder Falcon. You know, my editor is like perusing everything. He's like, "Hey, is there anything I should know about in here?" I'm like, "No, don't worry about it."
How did the Hook part come into play? Is that a movie that you always liked, or?
Yeah, I loved Hook as a kid, and I always liked silver characters more than I like gold characters, if that makes sense. So,
No, wait. I want you to expand upon that a little
Okay.
bit for me, because
Sure.
I understand the difference of silver and gold, but I don't understand how that would play into a character. Can you expand upon that a little bit for me?
Yeah, so like, okay, Lord of the Rings. I've always liked Boromir more than Aragorn, if that makes sense. Like Aragorn's kind of like that guy. He's the cool dude. He's the one. He's the king. He ultimately makes the right choice, whereas Boromir is a little effed up. He's, he's been through the ringer. He makes a real bad decision and he ends up dying, but he's still this great character. But he's like underneath Aragorn. Does that make sense? Okay, so then at the same token, think of like Scottie Pippen, right? Like you got somebody above you. You're kind of like this. Look, no offense, Scotty, you're amazing, but like you're not Jordan, like, and he never
Right.
will be. But that's amazing. That's kind of cool. He's like still so good at what he does, but there's somebody above him that everybody knows is above him, but he still makes for like this really cool story. And the same,
I think that's kind of the bass player's plight in life.
there you go. And then you got like somebody like Rufio, where it's like it's not really about it's not about Rufio, it's about Peter Pan, but Rufio is like such a badass.
Right.
Right.
We all
But
want
the
to be
whole-
talking about him, not Peter. Right. Yeah.
Totally. But in the same way, there's kind of this like narrative arc to a lot of fiction and in real life, I guess, where we all kind of know who the star of the show is, and it allows for B characters or silver characters, I call them, to like really shine and have their own personality and not have the weight of the story on them, so they can make, in some ways, like way more interesting narrative choices because of who they are in the story and who they are as characters. And I personally feel like Beta Ray Bill also falls into this category, where he's always been kind of second best to Thor. And that's kind of what helped start the whole story off in my Beta Ray Bill arc. And that's why I threw in Hook there. And it's funny, I guess like Marvel doesn't I thought Marvel owned the rights, but I guess they don't really. So as long as like I fudged the dialogue a little bit and nobody looked like anybody from Hook too much.
Okay.
And at the end, I actually put in a scene where in the end of the series, that little boy's like touching Peter's face and he's like, "Oh, there you are, Peter."
Oh, yeah, there you are. Yeah.
Yeah, so I put that in the end, which is like kind of like Beta Ray Bill, like realizing just how much worth he really is, which is, silly, Hook reference, whatever. But I drew Robin Williams so well. It actually looked like Robin Williams, which I'm not very good at likenesses, but it was so good that Marvel had to make me fudge it up because it looked too much like Robin Williams.
Oh, wow. They had to come down on you on that? That's amazing.
They were like, yeah, dude, it was awesome. Because likenesses, are crazy hard, but then to make a cartoon, like a black and white drawing of a likeness without making it look stiff is really difficult. And I totally nailed it. And it was so hard to have to mess up my own perfect drawing.
Well, do you still have the original somewhere
That's
though?
still on the original. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to hang on to something like that. When I watch you draw and on your YouTube channel, everyone could go check out. It's the other DWJ. So you go check that out. I'm watching you draw and like we talked about the cameras and stuff before we started recording here. But you have like these really great shots of you just sitting there like drawing. And of course your wife and your kids will come in the background and you're just like, keep going. And I'm watching it because I'm not an artist. I could barely draw a stick figure. And I'm just watching and it just seems so, I don't know, second nature to you. Is this something that like, when did you realize that you were an artist that can just pick up a pen, pick up a piece of paper and create? Like, because that I feel like the way that you do it, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, just seems second nature, kind of part of who you are. It wasn't like something that you had to force out or go get taught.
I mean, I started in first grade where I was really excited by the Power Rangers show, like the Americanized one. And I would just draw Power Rangers all day, starting around first grade. And then I just started drawing all the time, starting from then on. I don't really remember drawing anything before then. I'm sure I did, but and then I just enjoyed it so much. I was so obsessed with like making things look right. That I just kept going and going. And then I started getting into Transformers, the Transformers TV show, and drawing Optimus Prime a bunch. And so I always did it because I loved it. And then it wasn't until, I don't know, 5th or 6th grade, maybe a little earlier, where I was in like a kid art class, and the art teacher, her name was Rosetta. She pulled my parents aside. She was like, "Dan's pretty darn good. I think you should put him in a figure drawing class." And starting in middle school, I was drawing with like high schoolers and adults, like figure drawing classes. And I did that.
What's figure? Well, I'm sorry. What's figure drawing?
Oh,
I'm not
sorry.
familiar.
So like a figure drawing would be, you have people in a circle or what have you with a model, a live model, doing poses or what have you. And you'll do different drawing techniques with that model. So, maybe just a face study, and you'll have different times. So it'll be like, we're going to draw the face for 5 minutes. We're going to draw the face for like 10 minutes, half hour. Then we're going to do whole figure stuff. We're going to do gestures. So literally the model would like hold a pose for like 2 minutes, and you're just trying to get that vibe. Then they'd switch, draw another pose. Then, a model would like maybe pick a little bit more of a comfortable pose for like maybe a half-hour session or a 2-hour session. And then you're really going for it. You're trying to make it look real good.
That's really interesting because I mean, I see it in the movies because I'm not an artist, obviously, and it just like looks like the guy's got to stand there or the lady's got to stand there with a fucking apple in her hand for like 2 hours or something. And I'm like, that sounds like an awful job. Like I don't understand that process. But now that you explain it, like they move around a little bit. That's very interesting to me. So
yeah, there'll be like one long pose a session, and it'd be like a 3-hour session over the whole thing. So. But I did that all through high school, and that really helped. And the way I feel about art and like drawing comics and stuff, for me, the hardest thing to learn is to draw the human figure in a way that feels natural, like kind of like you said. And I feel like that foundation really came to me when I was growing up in like middle school and high school. And thank you, Rosetta, for, thanks to my parents too. They're like, "Oh, you think so?" And they're like, "Yeah, all right, 100%. And there were times where I didn't want to go because I was the only middle schooler in there, and it would be like all adults, and I was like, "Oh, this is so lame."
Now I have the question that you're the middle schooler with around a bunch of adults, and you got figure painting as you said, and again, my references from movies and stuff. So how often are they naked, and how many dicks did you have to draw?
So this was like a community art center, so there wasn't any nude modeling. It was just people in dresses or people in like short skirts or something like that. I didn't do nude figure drawing until college.
Okay.
I'm sure if I wanted to, I could have done like nude modeling.
Well, we get Sam would definitely model for you if you wanted. Like it would be no problem, no free of charge. He could just model.
There's a lot of lines with roles that you could a lot of detail there. I'm not smooth. So
have you ever done like done nude like figure drawing at all? Either of you guys?
No, I've not. I've never even. Again, my reference is like Grumpy Old Man when like she's doing the sculpture of her then husband at the time. Like I have no reference.
Johnny's
really.
like super bad. That kid that just draws dicks all over. That's the long and the short of it.
It is cool.
It is the long and the short.
Yeah.
Good job there.
When doing that in college, though, like drawing somebody who's in a nude, it's really cool. It's like this really safe space. And it's kind of sacred almost. It's a cool experience. Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, I can understand that. Like you go on, the backpacking trip or in the gym, like we've all seen each other's shit. It's not that big of a deal. But when it's something that's like an art form, I could understand. Like I like to poke fun at stuff, but in all seriousness, it's an art form. I know that you're not thinking of it like any other way than your piece of art, correct?
Totally. Yeah. It's like a I mean, if you're doing it right, you're focusing completely on the model and not necessarily too much on your drawing. You're trying to train your eyes
That's
to
interesting.
draw what you see, not what you think you see. So if I were to tell you to draw a nose, right, you're going to like try and draw what you think a nose looks like. But if I say, draw your own nose from the mirror, you're still going to be like channeling what you think a nose looks like rather than your own nose, and learning
Wow.
like every line and curvature. And that's what makes somebody look like themselves. And it's also how you learn, when you like base your drawings in like reality and learning the basis of reality, so then you can push it to the extremes when Beta Ray Bill has to punch a demon or whatever.
Is there anything?
I love it.
Is there anything like we all know that Rob Liefeld's feet are everyone makes fun of, that he doesn't know how to draw feet. Is there anything you've been very self-aware from the stuff I've seen and listened to of this I didn't like this one, I like this one, I did. Is there anything that you have the most trouble drawing?
Feet is really hard. Not so much like a foot with like a shoe on, but like toes. Like drawing somebody in an action pose, like with like naked toes there's a reason that all my characters have shoes. Like I don't draw people without shoes on.
I'm curious as to why that is, though, because as Sam said, there's another artist that had the same, a similar issue with that. Like, is it? And I guess my question is it just harder when you're drawing for a comic book to do that? Where it's like I mean, the picture's got to be a little smaller, right?
Right.
When you're putting in a comic book, is that part of the reason why it's a little difficult, or?
No, it's just because it's such a intricate kind of part of the body that is hugely responsible for how balance and how you walk and how you hold yourself. So trying to draw that naturally is difficult because like it's the same thing with hands. People say the same thing about hands. Like hands are really hard to draw, and I can attest to it. But like you gotta be good at drawing hands when you do comics. And like I can't tell you how many sketches of hands I've done like over my lifetime. Like I am good at it now, but because most of the time people are wearing shoes or boots or whatever, I just haven't had to be good at drawing toes. So it is hard, and it's also I haven't spent enough time getting good at it. So
well, I can do a figure model for you, and I just hold out my foot if you ever need it. Like it's there. It's not pretty, but it's a foot.
Right on.
One thing that I love about you, I think you're probably the best in the game, is the onomatopoeias.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I did love that. Like all that stuff is so cool. Like seeing the Sam's point, the chopper going,
Yep.
and it's built into the art. I'm sorry to steal your thunder there, Sam. You can continue.
No, I think is worth celebrating. I mean, seriously, that's one of the things me and my daughter I was talking about right before you came on, and I kind of messaged you about it. Murder Falcon, while it's not 100% for kids, I would change the words, from curse words to funny words to make her laugh. And she could read, so she knew what it was doing. But that was the first comic we really bonded over. And I think it was hugely to do with your style of just incorporating everything real grand and less focus on the writing and more the pictures telling the story, which is really cool. And then, and I don't mean to keep talking, but then also Mike's Spicer's, that made me a huge fan of him on everything, since like his coloring on your art is just amazing. So
yeah, he's amazing. Actually, for Murder Falcon, I sent him a bunch of screenshots of like Marvel versus Capcom 2, and I was just like, make it look like this.
Because at my house, I have that game in the back. That's the one I got.
You really do.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So one last question, and I'll stop my nerdy talking here.
No. This is what you're here for.
Great.
This is our comic. This is our resident comic book nerd.
Oh, no.
That's gonna
Awesome.
help me get
Okay,
through
I'm
all
gonna
this.
get dark here. Okay. So Scuttlebutt turns into a real life form, right? Well, AI.
Oh, you're gonna ask this question,
Yeah.
Sam? Really?
Yep.
Okay, let's go.
So I feel there's a connection that it wants love from Bill, right?
Okay.
Did it put a fleshlight in itself when it created itself?
We never got that far.
Part two.
I will.
That's like asking. That's like asking. Like, is the thing's dork made of orange rock as well? Like, it's the same fucking question.
We actually did. We were thinking about having like a love scene between the two of them, but we felt that it maybe like wouldn't look that great if the only two female characters that really show up in the book are both like just having sexual encounters with Bill. So that was a note that we got from Marvel Editorial that I thought was a good one. So I listened to it. And,
well, also, you made Sif seem like like all narcissistic about it, or all about appearance, right? So
so that's true at first read, but
I know I'm just having a hard time. I heard you love women. I'm just messing with you.
We all love women here, okay, guys?
Well, the fact is that Beta Ray Bill kind of cuts her off before she can really explain herself.
Yeah.
So it's actually more Beta Ray Bill interpreting what he thinks the scene is rather than what is actually happening. Sif probably just wanted to have a conversation, and Bill's like, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I'm out of here.
Insecurity, yeah.
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 On that note, though, let's do fantasy booking here.
Okay.
Because as a wrestling fan, you understand that term.
Oh, and before we do that, I have to tell you how I actually got into wrestling, because we never got to that.
Let's get.
Oh, we didn't. We went around the block.
Yeah,
Didn't
We
we?
went around the block. So John 3:16, approved workmen are not ashamed, leading into Daniel has a kid in 2018. Fiona was born, and I was just home a lot, taking care of the kid, and I had always seen New Japan wrestlers that was big with my my friends, my comic book friends, and they were drawing them a few times, and I was like, "What's that? Who's that guy?" And everyone was like, "Damn, you never heard of New Japan Pro Wrestling?" And I was like, "What's that?" And I never was really into WWE growing up, as I became an adult, but I was like, New Japan looks pretty cool. I checked it out. I fell in love with it. That was the G1 in 2018, and it was the match that really got me into the deep end was Kota Ibushi and Tomohiro Ishii. That 2018 G1 match they had. I
gotta check that out.
It was the last time. I think
I'm
pretty sure it was the very last time Ibushi did a moonsault off a balcony. I don't think he's done it since.
Whoa.
And I saw that and I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy."
Daniel, I'm gonna have to go back and watch this stuff, because I mean, we should have had our other guy on the show that's our resident wrestling geek.
Okay.
So we have a comic book guy, Sam. Brandon's our wrestling guy. I kind of fall in between everything there. But I do love the New Japan stuff that I do see. But when you talk about it passionately like that, that's what wrestling is to you. I'm like, all right, I got to really check this shit out. I got to get a little bit deeper into it.
That's when you
It's
got
special.
into it, right, John? At 2018. That's about when you started falling back into this.
Yeah. About 2018, when I got off the road, is right when I started watching wrestling again. When my buddy Chris went over to AEW,
Nice.
that's kind of when I started watching it again, and then. I was watching WWE, AEW, watching it go back and forth. And I don't know, Daniel, you could probably attest to this, man. It is such a cool time to be a wrestling fan right now.
It is
to
wild.
have all these different factions going on, and the way AEW is, what do they call it? The forbidden door. They've opened it all up. It's really fucking cool.
It is amazing. It's so exciting. I've been doing a lot more research going back into history and doing more research. I'm actually working on a wrestling comic now for Image Comics.
Right. What's this one called?
It doesn't have a name yet. I'm still working on it. It hasn't been announced. It does have a name, but the announcement won't be until maybe December.
Okay. So I'll call you up later, and you can tell me then.
Oh, I'll tell you off the air, whatever. Yeah, but so I've been doing my research and just kind of looking at the history, and dude, you're totally right. Things have not been this interconnected ever. I mean,
Ever.
it's
Maybe you'd have to go back to the regional times when that's probably in the late 70s. I mean, it hasn't been that way for so long. And Tony Khan is just a wrestling fan,
Yep.
right? He's just a fan, and he's ingratiated himself in it his entire life. He's one of those guys that got the sheets in the mail and everything like that. He's hardcore.
Yeah.
So when he turns around, he just wants to see what he would want to see, right? And it's like it's so cool. And then he puts himself with guys like Cody and Kenny and Brandy, who have been in the industry the whole time, to give that back that perspective. And it's just so cool what they're doing over there.
Awesome.
I don't know. We could do a whole other episode just me like geeking out about that.
Who are some of your favorites in AEW right now?
Man, I like it all. Getting into New Japan in 2018 led me to follow everybody from New Japan over to AEW. So basically, everybody that left New Japan for AEW, I'm a huge fan of. So Kenny, I think Malachi Black is awesome.
Dude, Malachi is the shit.
He is so. I mean, his presentation is like so cool. I love.
He's such a good dude too. I'll introduce you sometime. He's a good buddy now. He's been on the show. I'll introduce you sometime. I'm sorry to we can cut this out later, but like literally, Tommy is like one of the coolest dudes ever too.
We got really lucky with him right before the whole switchover. It might have been perfect.
I'm not super knowledgeable about the WWE world just because there's already so much good stuff out there. But when he came over to AEW,
that's a nice way of saying that WWE has been sucking for the last couple of years. That's nice of you.
I guess a long story short, like I had not seen Tommy End until he showed up and kicked Cody in the face.
Right.
And when he, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. I like this guy's vibe, you know. But when he came out for his first match with Cody and they gave him all that space with that intro, and also his opening music, I think is so badass. I can't remember the band's name, but it's a great track.
I don't recall it right now, but yeah, he owns the rights to it too.
Yeah.
Like it's one of his buddies' band. Like he knows the guys in the band and asked them to do the song, and they're good friends and stuff. It's really cool. And to your point, the production of what he does, it's like a new take on like a dark character where the lights go out. We've seen this before. The lights go out. But maybe you could correct me, or maybe Sam could correct me. I don't remember ever like an Undertaker or some kind of character like that would just show up in the ring after everything went black. And I think that's a really cool spin on the lights go out kind of character.
It's so cool. But as far as like others, so Kenny, of course, I think Kenny's a great promo and he's a great wrestler, and he's responsible for me really. It was Kota Ibushi and Kenny and Tomohiro Ishii that really got me into wrestling. So I think I'm going to be a fan forever of Kenny. And gosh, I mean, I don't know. I like everybody. Like I love Miro. I was watching AEW from the very beginning. So I saw the Dark Order trying to get over like really hard and it not really happening like until the pandemic happened.
I love the Dark. I'm glad that you point that out because you're absolutely right. Like I never expected them to get over.
Yep.
And then when they started being positive Dark Order, that's when they like all of a sudden it was like, okay, this is hilarious and awesome. Like, let's go.
Yeah. And like, I remember I was there All Out 2019 when the Dark Order had their match and like, it was dead. Like nobody cared. And these guys are working their ass off.
They're great wrestlers too. I mean, and then obviously rest in peace, Brody Lee. But like that was, I mean, his presence was ginormous. You know that guy was going to end up with the world title at some point too. He wasn't just going to be the TNT title.
I think you're right. And I was like watching like right before the new year. I watched that tribute episode.
That was heartbreaking.
Crying my eyes out, and the worst thing that can possibly happen to a wrestler happens, and there's like there's like nothing good about it, but like they made that episode and they did just this amazing, beautiful tribute. I mean, it's like, that's kind of what, I don't want to be too, artsy fartsy, but like, I feel like that's art's greatest gift to us as humans is just processing the terrible things that happen. And I think AEW did that so well.
But yeah, I totally agree with you. And that is part of being, I mean, I'm not the same artist that you are, but it's part of being an artist in general or someone who creates anything is that what you just said, the ability to take in what is happening around you and put it into his perspective and filter it back out to everybody.
Exactly.
And I think that's a really valid and brilliant point. Real quick though, I did want to ask about this Deadpool stuff. So yeah. I love that you're laughing already. So I got it here, and I absolutely loved your interpretation of, as we all know, Deadpool, most of us from the movies and stuff, you have Ryan Reynolds and he's kind of narrating the whole thing, which is actually very true to the comic, correct?
Yep.
So you have a narration with Deadpool about how you're going to draw him.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such like a outside the box way of thinking. Can you walk me through what was, when you realized you're like, okay, this is how I'm going to do Deadpool? Like what was that moment?
So I got into Deadpool as when I was really young. Actually, so this circles back to my dad. So we were in Borders, which is like a bookstore near my house, and I had enough money to get this Deadpool comic that was Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness did. And I had the same conversation with my dad in the bookstore that I had about like the Nickelback CD. I was like, I really want this. And my dad's like, this Pool of Death, Dan, are you serious? And I was like, Dad, this is really cool. And he's like, well, you can get it with your own money, but I'm going to be disappointed in you if you get this, And I was like, all right, that's fine. I'm doing it.
Yeah, I'm okay with disappointment.
Yeah. So I was like, Nickelback, you can have. I'm keeping Deadpool.
Yeah, I love it.
And but so that was kind of. So I was trying to figure out, like, I'm trying to work on this story, and poor Marvel, the editorial was like, hey, what's the story? Are you almost done with it? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm working on it, because I kept getting writer's block, because ever since that Deadpool story with Joe Kelly and McGuinness came out, and the popularity just like shot through the roof, and in the movies, and he's just kind of been, in my opinion, run into the ground. Like there's only so much you can do with a character before you're finally like, oh God, enough, please. So, and that's exactly how I felt about the character. I was like, I had seen so much of it. I'm like, I'm done. I need something different. So when
I love that you covered that in it too. Like everyone should go check this out. I got it right here. And what Daniel's talking about is all right here in this. Like it's
Hulk,
amazing.
By the way, is amazing too.
Thank you.
Yeah, Hulk ripping is. I mean, again, to your point, like when you're like, well, there's only so much you can do. Like, yeah, the guy can't die, so you just rip his head off. You do whatever to him, and the guy can't fucking die.
Right.
So like, what do you do here? Where's the arc?
And then even then, the fourth wall has been broken so many times with Deadpool that I was like, how do I even like how do I even do that in a new way? And it wasn't until like I started like getting personal with it, where I was like, where I had to like kind of go into my own experiences with Deadpool and like how it like made me want to make comics, that I kind of found the click, the little thing that made it all work. But so like the title is from my dad. The title of the book is because my dad was like, Pool of Death, Dan.
I love that. That's for anyone listening who hasn't checked you out. I was talking earlier before you came on. I think that's what you do best, though, is not only just have outlandish stuff like a dance, intergalactic dance thing, but you also have the human.
Amazing, by the way.
Yeah, right. The human, the compassion part. You definitely at the end, it hits your heart at the end. I mean, similar to Murder Falcon has that. Bill's got that in his, with just some personal insecurities and things like that. I think you do a really good job of that. And I don't mean to sidetrack, but I also heard that you were going to make Better Ray Bill a intergalactic ping pong champion, possibly. Which I love that your mind just goes all over the place. You think we're going to go this way? We'll go this way. I love it.
Yeah. I wanted to. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I love drawing great epic battles and sci-fi fight scenes and big swords. But I was like, Beta Ray Bill is such a weird character to begin with. What if I just took the story into a really weird place? And what ended up happening, like I kept trying to make the whole end fight of my Beta Ray Bill series was going to be a ping pong final with Beta Ray Bill versus Thor. And like I was trying so hard to make it work. And like in my story, like Loki is like really pissed as well with Thor because it's his big brother, screw him. But he sucks at ping pong. So if you get good at ping pong, then maybe you can embarrass him in ping pong, even though you can't defeat him in battle. And like I was like going crazy trying to like banging my head against the wall trying to make this work. And
Dan, do you do hallucinogens?
No, I don't.
Okay, just making sure. Just curious.
Well, I think Thor would be better at beer pong than ping pong, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
especially like yeah. After he gets his gut in those Avenger movies, that was hilarious. By the way, that actually brings me up. We went back to wrestling, but as we're talking about Better Ray Bill, Dan, if they make this into a movie one day, who would you cast as Better Ray Bill?
Oh wow. Ooh. Jeez. Like as the voice actor, you think?
Well, I mean, technology has come a long way. You could kind of like you could still do that character in like put a bunch of those crazy balls on their body and face, and it would be like, I mean, like Thanos is still what's his name? I'm drawing a blank, but
Yep.
So you could still have an actor play that part.
I kind of like, I don't know.
James Brolin. Sorry, there we go.
Well, like I don't know, because it's like, do they have to be super
Josh Brolin.
Do they have to be super muscular?
No, it's more of a
Not
voice
necessarily,
stuff,
because you could art that up a little bit. You just need their face, really.
I think maybe Ethan Hawke.
Ooh. That'd be a good one.
But
That's a
I'm
solid
mostly
choice.
just saying that because Ethan Hawke's one of my favorite actors.
But isn't he coming? He's going to be actually.
Wait. Is one of your favorite actors? Who's your all-time favorite actor?
All-time favorite actor. Okay, hold on.
Or one of your top three. One of your top three. That's a hard question, right? Because people ask me the same, or people ask the same question, like, "Who's your favorite band of all time?" It's like I don't. That's a really. Hard question.
I know that one.
Oh.
Who's that?
That's Me Without You.
Okay.
Have you ever
I'm not
heard of them?
familiar. No, I'm not familiar.
It's one word, and they were in that Tooth and Nail days that I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
And they were also like kind of in that Christian world, but then they really kind of evolved out. And yeah, I wouldn't be the person I am today without Me Without You. Thank you so much, guys. But into top three actors, probably Jake Gyllenhaal. Is that a weird one?
That's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
What was the really Donnie Darko was he did a great one in that one. Yeah.
I really liked him in that cop movie, with the shaky cam.
Oh, what was that one called? I loved that movie.
End
too.
of
It was
Watch.
super creepy.
that was great.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Great.
Super creepy. I love that movie.
Great movie. Also, I don't know. I like Jake Gyllenhaal a lot. I just watched him in this Netflix one where
Was that good?
he's on a phone call. He's a operator, like a 911 operator. It was okay. It's a super downer, and so you got to be in the right headspace. But it was good.
I'm never in the right headspace for that. My wife is always like, "Oh, let's watch this drama. Let's watch the thriller. Let's watch." And I'm like, "Can I just watch a comedy?" It's like the end of the day, and I would just want to go to bed happy.
Johnny really likes rom-coms. That's his.
I do. I'm a big rom-com guy. I really am. I've when I'm on a plane traveling, I get a glass of red wine and some cheese from the stewardess, and I'll watch movies like P.S. I Love You, and I'll cry.
Okay. Well, what's your number one rom-com then?
Ooh, nice.
What's the name of it? It's really more comedy than rom-com. It's got Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd in it. It was They Came Together. They Came Together.
Really? That's a deep pull.
I've never seen that one.
Movie. You got to watch it. But
Okay.
it's one of those. It's not really romantic. It's more comedy, but like it's a play. It's a parody of a rom-com, but I still consider it a rom-com.
Mine's The Wedding Singer.
Ooh, good one.
Ooh, that's a great pull.
Yeah.
I like that. What about you, Sam?
You know what? Now that we're doing that, I'm trying to think. I would probably say 50 First Dates, just because my wife and I'm piggybacking off you pulling Adam Sandler, but it triggered.
You guys always go Adam Sandler. Is just every Adam Sandler movie is the best rom-com? Is that what we're getting?
No,
at?
50 First Dates specifically. It tells such a great love story. It checks all those boxes. And my wife and I used to watch it when we were in college. I mean, I didn't finish, but she did. We put it on at night, just like we do Friends now. We would just put it on, go to sleep to it. That was the go-to.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So then number one movie then? I'm gonna do it to you now.
Oh, who you asking first? Sam, you want to go first?
Oh, I know for sure. I mean, Nicolas Cage is, the top, but
oh, wait. Before you tell that, I want to ask, we got to ask the question you were telling me about. Is that like, Nicolas Cage goes in every year to a Marvel board and pitches these ideas. So I guess my question to Dan is, have you heard about this? And if so, would you ever create whatever Nicolas Cage wanted as a comic book.
Backstory, I heard that, I don't know if it's true or not, but I had a friend who worked at Marvel for a while, and he said that every year they had a pitch meeting, that open forum where you could just come in and pitch, and every year Nicolas Cage would come. I don't know if this is true or not. And he would give a pitch of something, and it was everyone's favorite to just come watch Nicolas Cage pitch craziness. But Johnny had a great point of like, why wouldn't you make something, we would all buy it.
I would do it if I had that talent. I don't care what he was pitching. I would make that comic.
Although he did make this one that Brother Voodoo, or not Brother Voodoo, something else that did not fly that well. So.
I have not heard that story, and I would not, at the drop of the hat, do anything. It would have to be the right project, because, look, I love celebrities, but like celebrities in comics, it's dicey.
Well, you're more of a writer, artist. You've done a good job of just kind of making your own niche where you can kind of do the projects you want. Do you think it's going to be that way from here on, or if the right thing came? I know Mr. Cates and you have a good run. Would you ever do something again, or you got your niche now?
I mean, I have my niche, and I'm kind of in control of my own destiny, which I really like. I'll never say never. As long as I can keep writing and drawing my own stuff, I will. Whereas, I can still like make money. If it gets to the point where I need a writer, I'll use a writer. But until that point comes, I'm flying solo.
Nice. You're doing a good job.
All right. Yeah, and you're doing a fantastic job. Let's get back to the movies, though, because I cut Sam off.
Sorry.
Your number one all-time movie. Get back to it.
Princess Bride, 100%.
Ooh,
wow.
Great movie.
Wow. Of all time.
Well,
okay. I mean, it's a great movie. It's a little inconceivable that you would pick it as your. Daniel, you want to go? Or you want me to go?
I'll go. It's Children of Men.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's intense.
I don't even know if I've seen that movie.
It is intense. Oh, dude, you got to see it tonight. It's so good. Tonight.
Children of Men. Who's in this?
Clive Owen.
Fill me in. Oh, okay. I like Clive Owen.
Red hair. Julianne Moore.
Why have I not seen this movie?
Is that the one where he has to get a kid? There aren't kids or something. He has to get transported. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So there hasn't been a child born in 18 years. And Clive Owen works at a newspaper, I believe. I don't know the other actors' names. There's another British guy with an older British actor who's in it. The whole movie is absolutely incredible. It requires 100% of your attention, and the editing, the screen, like the writing, there's not a single line of dialogue that can go by. You have to like be in the whole movie. Nothing is wasted. Like it's the fat has been friggin' trimmed, and it's just such a great movie.
I love hearing that perspective from you, from someone that I know has probably trimmed a lot of fat over the time of creating art like that. And like you're to Sam's point and everything, you're actually writing the dialogue too in these comic books. Like you're not just an illustrator. Like, and I don't mean to downplay an illustrator either when I say just an illustrator, but like you're doing it all. You're creating an arc. You're creating a story. Mm-hmm. And where did your fandom come from creating a story, I guess? Like not just writing or anything like that. Like to me, when I think of people who like yourself or people creating a movie, they have to create this arc, right? And they can't just come up with a half-brain idea. They come up with a half-brain idea and then they create an entire story around it. Mm-hmm. So when did you realize that this was a talent that you had?
Oh man. I don't know if I had a moment of awakening to that fact. I still feel like my writing is not that great. If I'm totally honest,
there's a lot of people that disagree with you though.
I'm glad. I love stories and I love movies. I love books, love comics, love anything narrative that's well done. And I don't really feel like I have any big thing to say, but I do feel like stories have the power to, help people wrestle with stuff that they're going through. And I also like having fun and I like playing. And comics allow me to do that without any budget. And I'm trying to maintain my sense of play, I guess. Like I want to like feel like a kid playing with toys or whatever, and do it in a way that hopefully, look, whenever I leave a movie that I feel is like absolutely amazing, I'm just really thankful that I was alive to experience it. And so I'm trying to do the same for people who read my comics, which is a lofty goal.
That
But
is beautiful.
that's the goal.
Beautiful.
That's the goal at the end of the day. So I don't know.
No, the way you just put it is absolutely beautiful to me. Like the fact that it's like, I'm happy that I was here while that art was made.
Yep.
That's such a cool, that's a cool perspective.
Yeah.
Like I really appreciate that.
Think about how many
And to
people
your-
have died before Groundhog Day came out. It's fucking tragic.
Wow, man. Exactly. They didn't even get to relive that over and over and over. But I mean, to that point though, I'll tell my favorite movie in a second, but I did like the fact that you're talking about like the narrative and everything. We're tying a lot of wrestling into this. So I have to ask the question, are you more of an in-ring kind of guy, or are you more of a narrative kind of guy?
Great question. When I started watching wrestling, the only real experience I'd had with wrestling was New Japan. So then when AEW started and you're getting more of an American kind of
Version, yeah.
yeah, there's way more stuff happening like outside of the ring, way more promos. I was like, whoa, what is this? Like, I'm not used to this at all. And then I realized, oh, this is like what Western, pro wrestling is. And I had always kind of assumed that with WWE, which I never thought was that great. But then I didn't realize like how much of an art form that also is, and doing that like narrative stuff in wrestling, and how important it is to do well, which I hadn't really seen done well, honestly. Like when I turned on the television and tried to get into WWE
Well,
on my own.
I will say though, you came in at like 2018,
Yeah.
so like you'd have to go back to like the Attitude Era, like all those kinds of things that
Totally.
they really built up characters, and there was a real battle, and WCW did a great job of bringing in the NWO,
Yep.
which actually was somewhat influenced by New Japan stuff. I mean, Eric has talked about that before, and yeah, it's somewhat influenced, but it was his own idea. I don't mean, sorry, Eric, I'm not saying you bit it. Don't worry. But like it's loosely based around some of this stuff, and then but that was a cool character development. You had Hulk Hogan, yellow and red, American fucking baby face for 20 years at that point, and then he's just gonna turn heel, and it was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Those are cool stories. That's what I mean by the narrative. And
Yep.
I think you were getting to that too.
Long story short, I love both now, especially as I know how well it can be done, like watching AEW, and also, doing my research of stuff in the past, realizing how well it was done in the past as well, in different American promotions. And, I love crazy ring stuff, but like, I also love the story too. I love the speculation. And the best part is truly not knowing who's going to walk out of the ring with whatever belt, or it's something special that I feel like pro wrestling has all to itself that no other narrative art has going for it. There's an element of sportsness where you really don't know. And that's exciting.
Yeah. And what's great to me, and I'll piggyback off of your sentiment right there, is that as fans, we get to speculate afterward and say what we would have done. Oh no, you can't give the belt to that to so and so. Like, how did he do that after 3 seconds? Ooh, like we know like better than the guys that are in the dressing room doing all that stuff. It's so much fun. It's fantasy football before fantasy football even existed.
It was totally
it's super fun.
And I love the element of real world stakes, like injuries and real life and like logistics and stuff that come with like following a baseball team or football or what have you. But then you have the narrative fiction element of it, which is just makes it really special too. But it's like a marrying of those two worlds, which I just think is so cool.
So much fun. Yeah. The last question on the wrestling, then I'll tell my favorite movie, and then we'll let you go, because I know you got Fiona back there waiting for you. Last question on wrestling is, do you gravitate towards the heels or the baby faces?
I think I gravitate towards the baby faces and the heels that are really good at their jobs.
Like the real heels, like the ones that just like you love to hate.
Yes. I did a illustration. This is in February 2020. AEW had commissioned DC to do like some promotional art, like poster promotional art for the convention at C2E2 that year. And so they asked me to do MJF. And I was so happy to do it.
I love MGF,
Oh,
dude. He's brilliant.
It's great. But so my poster is like all over C2E2 2020. And I saw him in the bar on like Saturday night, Sunday night, I don't know, Friday night. And I went up to him and I was like, "Oh, MGF, I did your poster." And I know he had seen it because he had signed all of them. You know, you see him with his signature. And he looks at me and he just walks the F away. He just walks away.
Did he kiss the ring a little bit? And then the music come on?
He was making himself coffee, like at the little coffee station. And I'm like, "MJF, like I did that poster of you. How's it going?" And he like just walks away.
Did he have the Bradbury scarf?
He did. He had the whole get out. He had the whole get out.
Fuck yeah.
Total kayfabe. Just kept it up. And I like to think that I like knowing that I got kayfabed by MJF.
Oh, that's like a greatest hits in person. That's awesome.
Oh, he sticks with it. Like he keeps it up. And so does Wardlow. I saw Wardlow in the elevator that night too. And I was like, "Dude, Wardlow, how's it going?" He's like, "Thanks, man." Just like scrolling on his phone.
How big is he in person?
He's
I haven't met him.
huge.
He's a big dude.
He's like not super tall, but he is.
But just like the
wide.
massiveness.
Yeah,
it's just gotta be like the massiveness,
crazy.
Right?
Yeah,
it's so funny. Like we all get that perspective of looking on a TV screen or being out in the crowd. You don't really understand like the size of these people. I mean, people even still call me small and like surprised when they meet me. I'm like, I'm still the same size. It doesn't I've lived this my whole life. Anyways, I digress. My favorite movie of all time is Tombstone, and I dare either one of you to debate it.
I mean, it's all right.
movie, man.
I can see how that's a favorite. I obviously know your connection to. I mean, Val Kilmer kills it in that movie.
Wait. Tombstone. Hold on. This is a Western, right?
Yeah. Kurt Russell.
Oh my God! Hold on a second. I got to teach Daniel something.
Hey, while he's grabbing that, can I
make
a recommendation for your Inktober? You're doing all the wrestling, right?
Yep.
I want to see your play on Darby Allin, man. I just feel like your metal roots with the skull, like, and he's a friend of the show. We love Darby. I would love to see your take on it if you don't have your roster filled up yet.
He is on the list.
Nice.
He's on the list. It's happening.
Very cool.
Did he make the list? Does anyone else get this reference from Chris Jericho?
No.
You don't get it, Sam? Come on. I know you got in 2018, Dan, so I'm not going to hold you against it. But like, come on. You just made the list. All right. Here you go, bud.
Oh.
Movie.
Okay. I have not seen that movie. Sorry.
So this is actually signed by Val Kilmer.
Oh,
you
awesome!
Need to go see that movie.
All right, dude. Blood Pact. You gotta watch. You gotta watch. Children of Men. I'll watch Tombstone.
If you don't want to watch the movie, you can just hang out next to me, and I can quote the entire movie to you. I've literally done it. My wife will not watch that movie with me anymore because I cannot help myself but like. I say the lines before they're said while I'm watching the movie. I love it.
Not annoying at all to watch with people.
That's awesome.
No, it's not annoying at all.
So good.
Well, it's been an absolute blast hanging out with you, Daniel. In the email, I'll send you everything we got, and I'll send you my cell phone number. Not right here, obviously. And maybe we could keep in touch. And next time I'm in Chicago, we could hang out.
Yeah, man, that'd be awesome.
Some fun.
That'd be really cool.
Are you coming to Anaheim for LA Comic Con or anything coming up? What do you have to promote? Do you have anything to promote that we can help you out with?
I'm going to be at New York Comic Con. I have a booth in Artist Alley. I don't really have anything to promote until like my wrestling book announcement.
Oh.
So.
Ooh,
yeah, which won't be
book announcement.
It won't be for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll cut that part out so you don't get in trouble. But maybe you come back on for like a live thing and tell us.
No, you don't have to cut that part out. Everybody knows I'm doing a wrestling book. It's like I just don't want to say the name yet because I need to hold something back for the official announcement.
Yeah,
But
totally.
everybody knows I'm doing a wrestling book. That is no secret.
Well, can you leak it to everybody else that you're actually going to draw me as a really badass wrestler that's going to kick everyone's ass? Like, can you just announce that?
I'll put you in the crowd.
Okay, cool.
Put you in the crowd. Maybe you'll get smushed by a wrestler by accident.
I would love that. I would love that.
Just knock your drink out of your hand.
I have a.
Oh no! Don't knock drinks out of my hand.
I have a
Drinks out of
scene.
my
I
hand.
have a
That's what-
scene in issue 1 where a character does a moonsault like into the crowd, like the wrestler is in the crowd, and he crushes everybody in the crowd, like water and soda going everywhere. It's pretty awesome.
Can't wait.
I can't wait to see this shit. Thank you so much, Daniel, for being here.
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me.
Thank you for the time. Say hello to Fiona for me.
I will.
And again, just thanks. It was a great conversation. I'm so glad to have got to know you a little bit, and hope we can continue this friendship down the line.
Thanks so much. Watch Children of Men, and I'll watch Tombstone.
Sure. You watch Tombstone. We'll text each other about it later.
Okay.